at this time of $150,000 out of the water budget.
And sewer budget.
Water and sewer budget it involves some risk.
It involves some risk in the fact that we wouldn't be spending this money. It might be, with these times that we're in, this money might be better to go somewhere else if we have some issues. But it's not as if we'll ever lose this money. These applications will then be there, and they'll be ready to be funded.
Councilmember Landis.
I'm wondering if any of these projects are projects that previously have had plans created for them, and if they've been, applications have been made for these projects to other agencies and they've not prevailed and not been selected. And is this an update of any previous plans, or?
No, these are projects that have all been identified as things that we need to do. We don't have plans and specifications for any of them. I can give you the 4 projects. As you may remember, they are the realigning the sewer system, which is something that would greatly increase the capacity at the plant because we wouldn't have the infiltration. They are the water line replacement. There we have several places where we're having water leaks and continual breaks, and so replacing those water lines. The other project is the reclaimed water from the sewer plant. That one is kind of in the second phase, but it's to get the pipes in the ground and up to probably the golf course and the Riverside Park in order to have ponds there. And that's a fairly significant environmental review, and that's part of this process that they're going to provide as well. And the last project is a well, the well at Goby Street that we've been talking about. So those are.
Can I continue my questioning?
Sure.
Part of my questioning comes from the fact that I went to an all-cities meeting in Fort Bragg this last Friday, and I'm trying to put the pieces together because at that meeting there was discussion about, in 2002, 2 projects not ranking very highly that were presented to the North Coast Water Agency. Is that the right group? North Coast Water Group. And right, and despite the fact that they rated very highly, they weren't selected. And I wondered I thought there was one about reclaimed water.
I would be surprised if that project wasn't rated very highly.
They were rated highly, but they didn't get selected.
And that's probably just because of the other projects that competed against them and the amount of funds that were available. Councilmember Roden is giving me a
it was
yes
different.
or no.
It was for a different reason. My clarification I'm wanting to know is if some of these projects have been things that we've been trying to do since 2002.
No.
No, these are all new. Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Roden.
Yeah. None of the, on all of these 3 tasks, the scope of work for the 3 tasks, excuse me, don't include 100% design plans.
No, these are not.
So that's probably going to be pretty expensive, right?
That will be expensive.
Okay, but does that come after you get awarded the grant?
That comes, I believe, I don't know exactly how these are going to work, but what they sort of give you an idea if you're in the first ranking, and then if you are, you then put that money forward for the design. You kind of get a feeling to, it's a better odd, we keep going.
I mean, how can a project be shovel-ready and not have 100% design plans?
Well, some of them, the reclaimed water, it can't be. It can't be shovel-ready. The water line replacement project, we actually do have some plans in certain locations. We'd want to expand that as much as possible, and we'd probably just continue to work till they, with the drop deadline. We have about 5 water line projects that we tend to include in that. The sewer line relining there's not much to do for plans and specifications. So that's kind of shovel ready by its nature. And the well project, we're trying to get that shovel ready right now. So I mean, we're going to need that for water, but we're going to need that for this as well.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure if everyone heard what staff just said. If we if we make it through the first level of, the first selection process, and we're chosen, highly ranked, or chosen to go on to the next competition, then we would have to expand, what would the design, then we would have to do the design plans, what might those cost?
Oh, the reclaimed water, the cost for that would, I'm gonna guess, $250,000. The other ones, not very much. Like I said, some of those are shovel-ready, some of the water lines are shovel-ready. It depends on how many water lines we wanted to expand that group to for the money. But the only real one that has a significant design cost would be the reclaimed water, and I'm gonna throw out somewhere between $250,000 and $500,000, and that's just a.
If we were to be chosen to go on and we decided to fund that, would that come out of the bond funding for the sewer treatment plant? And if it were to come out of the bond funding, would that be a legitimate use of those bond funds?
We have capital, we have bond capital funds set aside, and yeah, that would be a legitimate use. I don't think we might have to shift around what's identified currently in those capital improvements, but I think we have enough money total in those capital improvements to do that.
Even though the design is in a competition and still might not win us the grant.
That's true. However, I don't think we would get any big arguments right now that having the design ready for a reclaimed water system would be a losing proposition.
Councilmember Crane.
There are funds that we're obligated to use supposedly for reclaimed water study. That was a provision of the bond proceeds. And as was pointed out, what gets developed in the way of plans focusing on needs we've identified is information that can be used going forward even if we don't receive the grants. So we risk the funds to put the grants together, but whatever we invest in the design work, in the documentation for the work itself, that can serve us in going forward, whether we're recipients of the initial phase or not.
Mm-hmm. Now, another question. The water projects, so the reclaimed water, it would be a sewer project.
That's
the water
cool.
lines, I've been hearing that our water fund is not doing that well currently. How can we afford this risky undertaking if already our reserves in the water fund are disappearing?
Well, actually, the water fund is probably the least risky of them all because, like I said, we have a certain amount of those plans. I mean, I think there's 5 locations that we already have designed, shovel-ready, specifications done. Those we would just put out and basically get this funding. So there's no real risk there. The well, I suppose, is the one that would be some degree of risk, but that's kind of, we're going to need water to sell, so if we don't feed the cow, we're not going to get any milk kind of scenario.
Water to sell to our current citizens?
That's correct.
Okay. We're going to go ahead with that well, whether we get this grant or not, aren't we?
That will be your decision.
Are we going to delay the well project waiting to find out about funding for this well?
No.
No? Further council questions or comments before we open this to public comment? Now is the time for the audience to comment on whether or not we should try for some stimulus funding for water and sewer projects.
John McCowan, Ukiah. I think staff is to be commended for taking the initiative to